So if you're watching this, chances are your online education business is doing pretty well. You're making good money, maybe 6 figures, maybe more. But here's the thing, you're also working harder than you've ever worked. More hours, more complexity, more stress. And if we're being honest, you might even be feeling a little bit burned out. Your revenue, maybe it feels stuck, flat, maybe even declining a little bit. So you've kind of built yourself this high stress job when what you really wanted all along was freedom. I get it, I've been exactly where you are now. But here's what I know after building multiple 7-figure online education brands. Your business is not actually maxed out. It's probably operating at about 1/10 of its true potential. Let me explain what I mean by telling you my story. So my name is Ollie Richards, I'm an educator, that's my identity. 12 years ago, I was obsessed with a particular problem in language learning. Language learning is my space, my niche. And traditional language teaching, as I saw it, was completely broken. But I had taught myself 8 languages in the 10 years prior to that. And you know what I thought? I thought, I'm gonna do something about this. And so I started a little blog where I just wrote about how I learned languages, and people loved it. I made some courses, I hired a team, started doing multiple 6 figures in revenue. And that's when I made the classic mistake. I started saying yes to absolutely everything. New courses for different languages, new platforms, partnerships, speaking gigs, media interviews. I even did a publishing deal and wrote a bunch of books. And every opportunity seemed great at the time. But each yes added complexity. Too many products to maintain, too many emails to write, too many people to manage. And of course, everything required me personally. And the business eventually became this monster that I could not control. I never disconnected. I missed time with my family, and there was a sense in which I felt trapped within the business. The business that I'd built for freedom, the business that was supposed to let me live this meaningful life as an educator, teaching my expertise, had stolen that freedom completely. But looking back now, I know what happened. I had fallen into something that I call creative gridlock. And here's what makes it so insidious. Creative gridlock doesn't happen to lazy people or bad business owners. It happens to the best of us. It happens to creative, generous educators who love what they do. See, when you're talented and passionate about teaching, about helping people, opportunities, they come to you. Opportunities keep coming. A new idea for a product, a partnership request, a different platform to try, endless inbound emails. And because you are creative and capable, you think, yeah, I could do that. That would help people, that would further the cause. And so you say yes, and then yes again. Each decision makes sense on its own, right? But together, it all creates this web of complexity that just traps you. And I see this happening to all kinds of entrepreneurs. For example, I worked with a psychologist who had built 3 separate online businesses at the same time. A coaching training program, a membership site, and a therapy practice, all while working full time. Her creative energy just willed all of this stuff into existence, but she was burning out. And of course, her revenue actually went down the more stuff that she built. Or there's another wonderfully creative person I work with who built so many courses that she literally couldn't even count them. She was running one launch every single, get this, every single week. Launch a week. She just couldn't stop creating. But then she got blindsided by all the Google traffic changes. She took her eye off the ball because she was too focused on creation. The business was horribly exposed because she was just trapped in this cycle of creation. You see the pattern? In every case, this creative energy drives you to say yes to opportunities. Each new thing adds complexity, and then revenue ends up plateauing at some point. It might be here, it might be there, but it plateaus, despite you working harder, and then you can't see the path forward. But what's really happening is you're not maxed out. You're just gridlocked, and there's a huge difference. Maxed out would mean you've extracted all the value, you've pursued all the opportunities, and there's nothing left to be done. But gridlocked means you're just trapped underneath all these layers of complexity and unfocused activity. And your potential is trapped along with it. At the end of the day, the business is operating at a fraction of what's actually possible. So when creative gridlock hit me, it hit me like a 10-ton truck. I was burning out every few months. And by that, I mean entire weeks where I would just lay on the sofa and I couldn't even bear to open my laptop. There was more than one moment where I really considered shutting all of this down. What's the point of running a business that makes me feel this way? But in the end, I was too stubborn to shut it down. So instead, I just got curious and I started asking, well, how can I simplify? What's actually driving results in the business? Where is my time going? And what are the things that only I can do? And I realized all of the products and teaching were running through me. Everything was in my name. I wouldn't let anyone near an email. I was required for everything, and that's the thing that had to change. So here's what I did. First, I looked at my teaching method and I codified it into a system. I took everything that was in my head and I documented it. I gave it a name, Story Learning. And this was the turning point, because now I could offer the system, not me. It also meant that other teachers could deliver the system. Students could get results from the system itself. So I could step back from actually delivering the product. Second, I organized the entire business around what was actually working. I created one core product line built around Story Learning. Everything aligned behind this. All the other shiny objects, all the half-baked experiments, partnership requests, I just cut everything to one thing done incredibly well. And this was all possible because we'd simplified down to the one thing that worked best, and I removed myself as the bottleneck. And then third, I built a team around every core function: traffic, email marketing, finance, books. Everything that could be run by others was. And you know what? My team did a far better job than I could have ever done myself. It's funny how that happens. So the business started making millions of dollars a year in revenue and then millions of dollars a year in net profit, all without me. Maybe because that I wasn't there that it started working. But the revenue, that was just the result. It wasn't the driver. What I wanted most of all was a business that gave me freedom. The time to actually live my life. Family holidays, playing music, travel, flying my Robin DR400 around the place. And yes, also the money to enjoy all of these things. In the end, I ended up working just 4 days a month on Story Learning and then eventually stepped out altogether. Now here's the thing, looking back, throughout this entire process, I was flying blind through all of it. I made it work through trial and error, through instinct, through being willing to make difficult decisions, but I didn't have a system, I didn't have a guiding light, I didn't have a framework. That came later. And after I'd done this once with Story Learning, I started working with other education entrepreneurs, and that's when things started changing, because when you scale your own business, that's one thing. When you help someone else scale their business, that's something else. But when you help dozens or hundreds of people scale their businesses across every niche imaginable, from sales training to counseling, copywriting, fitness, you start to see patterns. You start to see what actually matters and what doesn't, from a place of perspective, from a place of experience. You start to see where the leverage really is in an online education business. You start seeing the same mistakes happening over and over and the same breakthroughs happening over and over. And that's when I was able to start to codify all of this again into a system, a diagnostic framework, 8 key areas that basically determine whether an education business scales or stalls, where the constraints are, where the opportunities exist. And when you run your business through this diagnostic that I've created, something kind of magical happens. You see your business clearly for the first time. You see exactly where you're operating at 1/10 of your real potential. You see exactly what needs to change. You see exactly what your next moves should be. I call this the rhythm method of scaling. And the name comes from my background as a jazz musician. I spent my first 7 years of my career as a jazz musician. See, when you're improvising in jazz, you're not playing every note possible. You're not adding more for the sake of it. You're stripping away everything that doesn't serve the improvisation. And then you're just working with the key elements you need to create something beautiful. It's about rhythm, not chaos. Flow, not force. And that's exactly how you should scale an online education business. First, we strip away everything that doesn't matter. This is strategic subtraction. And then we use the outcome of that diagnostic to identify your unique growth levers. These are the 2 or 3 things that will actually move the needle in your specific business. And then we build a plan around those levers that's entirely bespoke to you. This isn't some one-size-fits-all system. It's a diagnostic process that reveals what's unique about your situation. Scaling by rhythm, not by grind. And it works because it's been validated not just in my business, but across hundreds of education businesses. And indeed, you might be thinking, okay, that's great for you, Ollie, but will this actually work for my business? Because I've tried things in the past that haven't worked. How do you know this is going to work? That's a fair question. So let me show you. Here's what happened when other educators applied the rhythm method of scaling to their business. So there is Chris Orzechowski. He's in the copywriting education space. He had multiple offerings across 5 different platforms, making almost $1 million a year, but completely overwhelmed and not keeping much of the money that he made. So we ran his business through the diagnostic, and what we discovered was he didn't have a revenue problem, he had a complexity problem and a pricing problem. So we consolidated everything, we eliminated what wasn't working, restructured his pricing. And after 12 months, his net profit was up 50%, but he was working 2/3 less than before, just 15 hours a week. But here's what he told me meant the most to him. He said he finally had some rhythm in his life, time with his family, space to breathe, a business that worked with his life instead of consuming it.
I can't recommend Ali's mentorship enough. Transform my business, transform my life. If you have a digital product business, a course business, I can't think of anyone better who understands the way that these businesses work. That's my recommendation. I would work with Ali if I were you. It's a great decision.
And he's not alone. There's Ken. Ken runs an education business for counselors called Counseling Tutor. Counseling Tutor plateaued around 7 figures after 10 years. It was just kind of stuck there. We consolidated everything down to 3 core offerings in the business. We repositioned the brand, reworked his pricing. The result was 300% growth in profit over 12 months, and Ken even retired from the business later that year.
Do I recommend Ali? Yes, well, I recommend that you speak to him, definitely. Was it worth it for me? Yes, it was. Thinking of doing it? Just do it. Reach out, have a chat, and see how that goes for you.
And then there's Chris Ritson. Chris is a sales trainer. He was stuck in this feast or famine mode where he was making a lot of sales. He was doing 300K a year, but it was very reliant on cold outreach and manual selling. And we uncovered through the diagnostic that his business model was fundamentally wrong for what he wanted. He was trading time for money with no systems. So we replaced his hustle revenue with passive systems. Revenue more than doubled from 300 to 680K. And he celebrated by taking his family to Japan for a month while the business ran itself. That was cool.
I couldn't thank Oli enough, and I couldn't attribute enough of this to him, his guidance, his strategy. Yeah, if you're thinking about working with him, 100% just go for it. In a year's time, you will not be able to thank yourself enough for making that decision.
See, this is what the Rhythm Method is really about. Yes, it's about more money and profit, but that's not really the point. The point is rhythm in your life, a business that breathes with you instead of suffocating you. Time for what actually matters: family, creativity, rest, joy, a life in balance, not in chaos. In every case, the breakthrough comes from the same place. It's not from working harder, it's not from adding more tactics. It comes from running your business through a clear diagnostic process and seeing, often for the first time, where the real opportunity is. None of them could see this themselves. They were too close to their businesses. You cannot read the label from inside the bottle. And this is what the Rhythm Method of scaling does. It shows you what you can't see on your own. The diagnostic process reveals where your unique leverage is, and then it gives you the conviction to actually act on it. This unlocked the 10x potential that was trapped in their businesses, and it gave them back the rhythm in their lives. And it can do exactly the same for you. So my entire mission these days is to help other educators do what I've been showing you here. I love my one-to-one mentorship work, but the truth is I want to have a wider impact, and I'm sure you can relate to that feeling in your own work as an educator. And that's why I created Elevate, a scaling experience for educators. And the name Elevate represents 3 transformations that we all want to create. We want to elevate your business, find your rhythm, build systems that work without you so you can scale with integrity. Elevate your customers, help your people to get the change that they're actually seeking in their lives. And then elevate yourself to grow as a person, learn to steward a successful business while also living an incredible life and keeping a firm grip over your creative spark that we want to hold on to. So Elevate is a 12-month coaching program where I guide established education businesses through the Rhythm Method, which is my proprietary diagnostic-driven system for scaling education businesses. Now, it's designed specifically for educators making over 100,000 up to 5 million in revenue who feel maxed out but know there's untapped potential somewhere in their business. Elevate is not for everyone. It is not for you if you're making under 100K a year, you're just too early. You need to focus on finding product market fit first. But it is for you if you are stuck at 6 figures and you can't see the path to 7. If you're drowning in complexity and you know that something needs to change. If you want a business that flows with your life, not against it. If you're an educator at heart who wants to build something meaningful, not just maximize revenue. So if you're still here, well, that's good. Let me show you how it works. So phase 1 is the diagnostic, and this is the first 30 days. This is where the magic happens. You're going to run your business through my proprietary diagnostic framework, the one I've been speaking about in this video. The same framework I use with my one-to-one mentorship clients who pay me up to $80,000 to work with me on their business. The diagnostic looks at 8 key areas of your education business. First, your business model. Is it actually aligned with your lifestyle goals? Your product suite. Are you selling the right things to the right people? Your marketing and traffic. Are you attracting your ideal customers efficiently? Your sales process. Are you converting at the right rate and price point? Your operations. Where are you the bottleneck? Your team. Do you have the right people in the right seats? Your finances. Do you actually understand the economics of your business? And your mindset. What beliefs are holding you back. Now, here's what makes this different from every other business assessment you might have taken or seen in the past. This is specific to online education businesses. I've built this diagnostic over years of working with hundreds of online education entrepreneurs. So I know what actually matters in this type of scenario and what doesn't. I know that traffic strategies that work for e-commerce just don't work for, say, courses or high-ticket coaching. I know that pricing psychology is completely different when you're selling transformation versus information or physical products. I know where education businesses typically have hidden leverage, where they typically waste resources. So when you complete this diagnostic, you're going to see your business with total clarity, often for the first time. You'll see exactly where you're operating at 1/10 of your potential. You'll see exactly what's holding you back from scaling. You'll see exactly which 2 or 3 levers will create the biggest impact. And here's the best part. This is entirely bespoke to you. I'm not giving you some cookie cutter template. I'm not putting you through a one-size-fits-all system where everyone learns the same tricks. I'm using a diagnostic process that's been refined across hundreds of businesses to reveal what's unique about your situation, your business, your goals as a creative educator. Then after you complete the diagnostic, you have a one-to-one strategy session where you review your results, we discuss what we're seeing in your business, and we create a complete 12-month strategic plan for your business. No more guessing, no more shiny objects, no more wondering, what should I focus on? Just crystal clear focus on the 2 or 3 things that will actually move the needle in your business based on what you have built, who you are as a person, and what you're trying to achieve in your life. This is the rhythm method in action. We're finding the rhythm, the exact cadence of activity that creates sustainable growth without burning you out. That's phase 1. Next is phase 2, which is implementation. This is where it's time to execute, and this is where Elevate really comes into its own, because there's this extraordinary environment that we build to make sure you actually succeed, like a scaling studio. Here's what you get inside Elevate. First of all, you get direct access to me. This is live office hours every single week where you can get help when you need it. So whenever you need help with your action plan, you can just jump on and talk to me. Over the course of a year, this is incredibly valuable because it means you never get off track, you stay focused on your end goal. Plus, there's also Ollie AI. Now, this is a knowledge base that's trained on everything that I've ever created. Courses, mentorship calls with private clients, mastermind sessions, all of it. It's like ChatGPT, except instead of generic answers, you get answers tailored to online education directly from all of my personal experience. This is included in the program. It's available 24/7. And I've been amazed at how many members of Elevate have told me they are completely addicted to Ollie AI. That's why I'm keeping it firmly under wraps inside the group. You have world-class resources. There's a huge ongoing library of direct how-to trainings that show you all the systems and frameworks that I've used to build multiple 7-figure education businesses and help others do the same. There are precisely 0 long drawn-out courses here. It is short targeted training that I build based on what group members actually need. Then you have my personal Rolodex. It's a curated list of service providers who I've personally worked with in my own businesses and recommend unreservedly. The benefit here is simple. It's whoever you need to hire to grow your business. This lets you skip all the costly and frustrating hiring mistakes and get the right people first time. Then we have our vibrant community. You'll be joining other education entrepreneurs at your level. Everyone is doing at least 100K in revenue, in some cases millions in revenue. Everyone is experienced. Everyone is here to learn. There is no beginner stuff going on here. It is for established businesses. There's this truly incredible variety of businesses and business models in this group. So we have everything from course creators to coaches, membership owners, newsletter operators. But what every single person has in common is education. We are all experts teaching our knowledge, running successful businesses around our expertise. And I'll tell you, if you're not currently surrounded by other online educators, you won't believe the difference it makes to join a community of people working on similar challenges. Plus, we have our annual in-person gathering, and this is a 1-day live event in the UK that's included in the cost of the program. We come together for a day of deep connection and masterminding, meeting in person, breaking bread together, sharing stories. This is where the connections you make online turn into lasting friendships. And for me personally, it's the single most important part of the whole program. It's the beating heart of Elevate. Now, the program I just described gives you everything you need to transform your business. That's the core of Elevate. But often people want to work more closely with me. And for those who do, we have higher tier options available with more intensive one-to-one support and deeper access. So we'll discuss which tier makes sense for you on your application. Frankly, with the sheer volume of support and community you get in Elevate, I believe it's practically impossible that you don't get at least one nugget of advice from me or another entrepreneur in the program at some point over 12 months that doesn't pay back the entire cost of the program many times over. In all likelihood, you will get many of those nuggets. All you need to do is to be open to receiving that inspiration. So here's what I want you to understand. Your business being maxed out, well, that's a good sign because it means you've built something real. You've proven the model. You have product market fit or product audience fit. The gap between where you are and where you could be is not about working harder or doing more things. It's about finding your rhythm, running your business through this robust diagnostic process, seeing clearly where the leverage is, stripping away everything that doesn't matter and focusing on the 2 or 3 things that will actually transform the business and enable it to scale to where you believe it can be, where it deserves to be. Now, a few final things to mention. First, this is a curated group. I am quite selective about who is let in, so just to manage expectations, not everyone who applies can be accepted. Second, there are a fixed number of spots. I keep a close eye on numbers to make sure everyone gets the support they need. So I can't guarantee there will always be spaces available. And then third, having taken over 10 years to grow Story Learning and invested in many coaches and mentors myself, the last thing I will say is the biggest cost of all is not investing in a program like this, it is staying stuck. Every month your business operates at 1/10 of its potential. You're leaving 10K, 20K, 50K or more on the table. But more than that, you're losing time with your family. You're missing the freedom you built this thing for in the first place. You're not living the meaningful life that you became an educator to create. You're living in chaos when you could be living in rhythm. So if you know it's time to step up, I encourage you to trust your intuition and invest in yourself. Here's what happens next. Elevate is currently application only. The exact process might change over time, but you'll want to scroll down and look for the apply button. That will tell you what to do next. If we're a fit, we'll show you exactly how to get started, including which program tier makes sense for your situation. There's no pressure. There is zero hard selling. It is an honest conversation. If we're a great fit, we'll talk about next steps. If we're not, that's also totally fine. We'll point you in the right direction. Here's what I know for sure. If you're like most of the educators that I meet, your business has 10x potential trapped inside it. I created Elevate to help you unlock that, to help you find your rhythm. And I would love you to be my next success story. So click below to start your application process, and I look forward to hearing from you.